Welcome to Meet the Candidates 2015, a voter education program sponsored by the Shakopee Chamber of Visitors Bureau. My name is Angie Whitcomb, and I'm joined today by Ken Ludzack, who is running for the Shakopee School Board. Ken, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
We're glad you're here. Why don't you start by giving our audience a brief background on yourself and why you're running for office?
Sure. Well, my name is Ken Ludzack. I'm a 16-year resident of Shakopee, married for 27 years to Janelle, 4 children, 3 that have gone through the Shakopee schools, had an excellent experience. I've got a sophomore who's still in the schools. My background is, before we moved to Shakopee, I was involved quite a bit in politics in Bloomington. That was a long time ago. I managed a couple campaigns for legislative. Once we moved on here in '99, I've been more involved with my church, youth sports, things like that, really raising my kids, running a business. And I haven't been as involved politically. I was on the Transportation Commission for a couple of years. They disbanded it while I was on it, so I don't think I had anything to do with that, but you never know. But one thing I've always recognized is that, based on my past experience and even some of the volunteer things I've done here, the commitment. It takes people getting involved for things like the school district and city council and these commissions to run. Things need to get done, and I've always appreciated the sacrifice and the efforts those who volunteer have put in. I feel like I'm at a point in my life where I can do that, I can get involved again, and I want to be able to give back to Shakopee. I've loved living here, so this is one way that I can do that. So that's one of the reasons I'm running. Great.
Well, Ken, in your view, what is the most pressing issue facing the school district in upcoming years? And if elected, how will you respond to it?
Well, there's obviously been a lot going on the last several years in the school district, and some of it's been gone very smoothly, some of it not as much. But I really think the most pressing issue is probably there's just a general lack of trust. Might be too strong of a word, but I would say lack of confidence amongst, I think, a lot of the people of Shakopee and honestly a lot of the staff. Okay. That the administration, the school board, has their best interests in mind. I'm not saying they don't, but I think there's a perception amongst a lot of people that that's the case. And one of the things I'd want to do if I got involved is kind of be an advocate for those who feel like they're not being acknowledged, not being supported, as well as encourage the board, encourage the administration. We need to be transparent. We need to be communicating clearly. Part of leadership is taking action, and I understand that. You do things, but a bigger part of leadership, I think, is getting people to follow your actions, getting people to understand why you're doing those things. Leaders need followers, and I feel like there's been a little bit too much leadership from the front and not bringing up the followers. The referendums that we had, the first one, that was very clearly the case. The second one, I think the administration, frankly, did a much better job, but I still think there's some things that can be done better and some things to improve in that area. And that's critical as we go forward, grow as a district. There's a lot of big initiatives taking place. We've got a new high school to build. That confidence and that trust is repaired, and I'd like to be a part of that. So.
Great, thank you. So if you are elected, what are 3 concrete action steps that you would take to help enhance the health of the business community?
Sure. And from a school board perspective, I thought about this question. I'm not sure as a school board member how much influence I can have, but I'm sure I can have some. The 3 things, first of all, from a school perspective, I think I'd encourage the school to, I know there's some work-study opportunities already, but increase those opportunities. The DECA program, I was involved a little bit with 5th graders. When my son was in 5th grade, I went and did DECA every week and did business teaching. I think it's a great program. So encourage that to grow. That could help the business community. But I do think there's going to be a lot of work-study opportunities over the next, probably as all these new businesses come in. They're going to need employees. If those are good jobs that we want our students to take and stay in Shakopee, we want to encourage them to get to know those companies, get to help those companies thrive in Shakopee. And then I think that the other thing is, the downtown area of Shakopee. I'm a 16-year Shakopee, and I haven't been here forever, but I'd like to see that thrive or do a little bit better. I think the 101 new bridge coming in is going to be an opportunity to capture some more traffic and business down there. So with some ideas towards how can we do that, how can we encourage businesses to move down there, encourage people to frequent those businesses. I think it's important that not just Shakopee along the new industrial corridor thrives, but the older downtown does as well. And then a third thing, actually, from a development standpoint, I think Shakopee is pretty tapped out to the east. I don't know there's much as a school board I can do about this, but I think we need to be ready for future development to the west side of town, off the 169, 69 area and south and west of that as well. So looking to figure out the best way we can get that area ready for more businesses and residential eventually to come in.
Okay.
So.
I'm going to pull a fast one and switch
Sure,
up questions because it sort of segues on what you
Okay.
were just saying. So if somebody was considering moving their family or business
Sure.
here to Shakopee, what would you say to them to convince them that Shakopee was the ideal location?
Sure. Well, from a business standpoint, I've been trying to talk, I'm a director of sales with the company. Our president to move down here for a while, just for convenience. But I mean, there's obviously good access to good employees. The roads have improved. There's a lot of other businesses coming in. I think there's still advantages economically. The price of square footage is a little bit less in Shakopee than some other areas. But from somebody moving in as a resident, I've loved living in Shakopee. One thing I really like about Shakopee is it has that history. It's 100 years old. There's families that have lived here forever. It was a city of 10,000 or whatever before the bridge came in. It wasn't a little tiny town. It was a small city even then. And I think it has that history, that small town feel still. But there's because of our proximity to a large metro area, and we're part of the large metro area, we have the amenities, the opportunities, the diversity that comes from being close to that area. I think that's really cool about Shakopee. I think it's really neat that I've lived here for 16 years, and there's still people, when I'm in certain circles, I'm the newbie, and I just think that's tremendous, and I like that. It's got a small town feel, a friendly atmosphere, but yet the amenities of a larger urban area. We're not the same as a lot of other suburbs in that way, I would say. So.
Great. So if elected to the school board, whose interests do you believe should matter
Sure.
when you are making a decision as a school board member?
Sure. And that's a great question, because there's a lot of, obviously, interest. There's a lot of people who come into play. For me, the way I would look at any decision I would make would be first looking at the interests of actually the future students. 5 years from now, how is this going to impact the district? 10 years from now, how is this going to impact the district? More than that, there's things that are going on now. My oldest daughter graduated in 2008, so that weren't even available then. And 10 years from now, there's going to be technology that's going to change, that is going to change the way people do education, frankly. And how are we can't foresee all of it, but how are we prepared to incorporate it when it does come down the road? I think that's the first thing. I think a leader always has to look, have the long view first. Secondly, I'd say the current students. How's this decision going to impact them? Probably third would be the taxpayers or the community in general. How are we using their resources with this decision, any decision that the board makes? I'd say fourth would be the staff. So I think they're the people who, provide the education. They're on the front lines teaching our kids and providing other services. We need to make sure they understand that the board has their best interests in mind. And I think as an administration, our interests should come last, including the board and the administration. We're there to serve those other groups, to the students first, and then the community and the staff next. So that's how I would prioritize every decision.
Okay. Well, to wrap this up, our final question, I'm going to give you an opportunity to tell our viewers why you are the best candidate for this position.
Sure. Well, I think I'm a strong candidate for this position because of my background in business. One of the things I've emphasized a little already, but the people of Shakopee are providing significant resources. They're entrusting the school board and the administration with those resources, and the goal is to use those to maximize the value for our students' education. We want to produce the best students that we can. We want to be a school of excellence, and I understand that. But I think what I do in private business, what I've done as a manager, what I do today in my business is I go to companies and I say, why are we doing what we're doing? How is that going to affect our future? How is that affecting us today? and really taking an approach of, are we doing things in the best way possible? I think that experience as a manager, that experience as a leader would translate well to a school board position. And I could give the people of Shakopee, I think, a viewpoint that maybe some of the other candidates who are, obviously there's some incumbents, hardworking people that are serving the district well, and then some of the other candidates have recently been incumbents. And I think I could bring a different perspective, and with that experience give a viewpoint that maybe might be unique and bring some value to the people of Shakopee. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us today. I appreciate your time. And thank you for watching this edition of Meet the Candidates 2015. As always, you can check out the Chamber website at shakopee.org to get all of the information you need, including polling locations and times, to make an educated, informed vote on November 3rd.